Welcome to another episode of Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is another young person who is full of life. They all are, aren't they? I met her at an event, and she was sitting right next to me, and it was Bharj Tahan's event of awards to all the people who are literally known to everyone, through literature, of course. And next to me was Ari Bhullar. And I thought, what a beautiful name. And I started talking to her, and she was passing along some papers to everybody to do some survey. And I was intrigued, and the intrigue brought her to the studio. So let's welcome Ari into the program. Ari, you're most welcome in our program. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to speak with you.
So the survey that you were doing, were you able to finish it? Or was it the beginning and still going on?
It is still going on.
Okay, what is it all about?
So what this survey is, it's for the City of Vancouver.
Okay.
We created a survey to look at discrimination in the South Asian community.
Wow.
So that's historical discrimination and the impact of that and what's going on today. And so there's a survey that everyone can do. You don't have to live in Vancouver to do it. You could have just had some connection to Vancouver, but we encourage everyone to take the survey. There's a mapping tool as well, and you can fill it out online and tell us about your experiences, like get your voices heard and make a difference we'll try to put everything we hear back in a report to council and really make some actions.
So what would happen once you finish the survey, and what is the length of the survey, and what are you trying to achieve out of that?
Yeah, so the survey is open until January 31st.
Okay.
What's going to happen with all the results that what we hear back from community is we will try to put this forward to council in a report and put all of the actions as recommendations. And so some of the reasons that we're telling people to do this is to be heard. Like, we want to be more seen at the city and feel more included. And then what we've heard is that the community doesn't want an empty apology. They want actions first, and then maybe an apology for the last 120 plus years of discrimination.
Yes, I know. I remember when I first came here, it was quite difficult to find a job in mainstream, in my own case, or in people who were doctors and lawyers to find jobs in their own field. Very, very difficult for them. So I think this is a beautiful survey that you're doing, and I hope that eventually, are people participating in it, or are they not participating in it?
Oh, yeah, we're getting lots of positive responses.
Good.
It is tough. Like, it's hard for people to open up. It can be quite triggering, all of those things, but it's so important for us to learn that history and their personal experiences that may not have been shared before. And we know there's so many other books, and there's a lot of other ways that people have shared our history, but it's important for the city to know what they did wrong and how they were impacted, like they were a part of this discrimination. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned City of Vancouver, so you're working with the City of Vancouver. And how did you get into that?
Yeah, so I'm a social planner at the City of Vancouver.
Social planner?
Yes.
What does a social planner do?
So a social planner is a bit different than a regular city planner that's looking at just developments. We are looking at more of an equity lens of this, so how this impacts communities in different ways. So we're part of a larger CARE team, which stands for Cultural Redress, Anti-Racism, Reconciliation, Equity, Accessibility, all of those things in there. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
So your plate is always full.
Always full. Yeah. This is my biggest project right now. Like, they hired me. Like, I've been at the city for, oh my gosh, almost 5 or 6 years, I think.
Wow.
Now.
Wow.
Right. And they hired me in a totally different role. But when this opportunity came up to work on historical discrimination against people of South Asian descent, it just called to me. I don't know if I was like the smartest and the most educated and all of those things person to do this. Like, I don't have my master's or anything, but I knew that I had the passion. Like, I would always do it for the right reasons, and I would put community first, and I'm not looking to just push like my own success in it. So that was the reason why I felt like I needed to do this.
Oh, have you lived in Vancouver all your life?
No, I'm born in Calgary.
No kidding.
Yes, I'm from Calgary.
Oh, I see.
My parents are in Calgary still.
Yes.
Yeah, I grew up and born and raised there.
So how was being raised in Calgary?
It was different.
Yes.
It was nice. My family is very big. Like
Yeah.
we grew up in a multi-generational household. My bibi baba lived with us, my taya, my chacha, like all the kids were the same. Like I didn't know that like my mom and dad were my mom and dad till like I thought I had all these moms and dads and everyone like, you know, I just thought we were one big like family in the house.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun. It was really like amazing to have that much love in one house and all of those things. Like even when we grew up, then kind of spread a little bit. We only spread to the same road. Like then
Right.
someone moved across the street, someone moved next door. We were
Right.
all quite still together.
Isn't that just beautiful? I mean, growing up in a multi-generational home sort of gives you totally different kinds of values
Yes.
to use in life later on. No wonder you are involved in, you know, looking at the whole community
Yeah.
instead of just looking at yourself
Right.
and being just individualistic, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
I think it is a major part of it.
Like they taught me so young that like, okay, giving back is so important.
Yes.
Like being involved in community is so
important.
important. My cousin, Manmeet, my taya's son,
Yes.
he, Manmeet Singh Bhullar, he was just from a young age was like, we have to be like, you know, you have to go volunteer for this campaign. We have to go help with this. Like, it's so important to help people and give back. We're going to go to the Gurdwara and start the first Nagar Kirtan in Calgary. Like,
Oh, wow.
we were just so involved. And then, yeah, he's a big part of the reason that I am the way I am now. And same with my parents and my cousins. But like a lot of what I do and why I give back is because of him. And he did like sadly pass away in 2015. And that was like the worst year and the worst loss for our family and everyone because he was so passionate. Like he became the Minister of Service Alberta and he was the Minister of Education, the first Sikh in the cabinet that wore like a pag. And so he was just had such a presence and so beautiful. And but he coached, like literally coached all of us through life.
So he must have been quite a bit older to you.
He was 35 when he passed, so not that
very
much
young.
older. Yes, very young. It was like a tragic accident. It wasn't expected.
No.
And so, you know, he was just gosh, not that, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, the memory keeps you going forward,
Yeah,
isn't it?
definitely.
I want to talk a little bit about your life in Calgary and then how did you come to Vancouver. But let's take a short commercial break and come back.
Thanks.
Ari Bhullar is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Woman in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is Ari Bhullar. Now, Ari couldn't be your full name.
No, it's not.
What is it?
My full name is Arvinder Kaur Bhullar.
Wow. But you use officially Ari.
Yes, that's right.
So, you lived in Calgary. You were born there. A huge family, family together. How many in your own family?
In my own family, my mom, my dad.
Yes.
And I have three, a younger sister, younger brother.
So you're the oldest.
I am the oldest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how was discrimination in Alberta compared to British Columbia?
Yeah, I think it was there. Like, I don't know, growing up, you felt like, you know, you were almost like embarrassed to be super like brown skin and to show your culture and to do all these things because you grew up in such a, maybe like a predominantly white neighborhood, white city.
Right.
And so what that did is like, yes, you went to school and you were trying to be friends with everyone, but I ended up just finding my own people to be friends with because there was us, like as cousins, there were so many of us at the same school.
Yes.
Our friends, we
So
all
you
came
got
together. Yeah, so we felt comfortable in our own community. I think, and then there was power in numbers to fight against like racism and discrimination. Like if someone said something to me or there was a bully, I'd be like, oh my gosh. Then tell my cousins and like 20 of us would be there. Like, what'd you say to this person? And so I felt quite protected that way. That was really nice.
But it was evident.
Oh yes, the racism or discrimination was evident. And I heard so many stories. Like you could see, like my dad drove taxi for more than 30 years. He was a taxi driver in Calgary, and sometimes I'd be so scared for him because he'd come home and be like, "Oh, this," like I'd overhear him telling my mom something that happened that day, and I'd feel so sad about it, or you know, you just like to see it when we're out or see something, or you know, people.
I wonder if people realize what they have done to other people because of their bullying or racism, discrimination. You know, it is so evident everywhere, but the perpetrator doesn't even realize what they're doing.
Yeah, no, you're probably very right. And I've seen that shift. Like, I've seen it shift over time. Like, it definitely wasn't the same in the 90s that it is now today in Calgary, all of those things. So
has changed.
Yeah, it's changed.
Calgary and Vancouver. What brought you to Vancouver?
Yeah, so when I was really young, when I was 17, looking to go to university, I went to Saskatchewan. So I did my undergrad there and went to University of Saskatchewan, and then after that I was in Calgary, and then was like, what do I do next? And what do I do now? And then I got diagnosed with MS. So I was about 21, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Like, is my whole life gonna change? And no one knew what it was, and no one knew.
And what were the symptoms for it?
I had a pretty big attack when I was young, so my whole right side of my body went into spasm and numbness and like face drop. Like, they weren't sure if I had a stroke at first or if it was like what it was. So I was in the hospital for a few months while they figured out that it was MS.
Wow.
And then when they told me, I felt relief, but everyone else was like in shock. Like, I think the community as well that we're so close with. They used to come over, I still remember this, and like watch me like get my spasms and almost like abscess while I was still alive in there. And I was like, what are they doing? But I was just young, and also just like, I just knew it wasn't gonna last forever. I was like, this has to go away. Yeah, like I know that MS will always be there, but I knew I would get better. Like, I was like, I have to get better. I'm determined to get better.
Wow.
So after that, I was like, you know, I'm not going to let this take over and stop me. So I applied for university in England, and I lived in England for 8 years after that. I did law there, and then I was like, I want to like live my best life and make the most out of the life I have while I feel healthy and good. And yeah, so then
you did law there.
I did. I did law.
And you didn't follow as a lawyer?
No, I think it was my parents who were like, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer. And I didn't know if I really wanted to be any of those things. And so I think what happened is I was there for a long time, and I was like, you know, I just want to be a little bit closer to my family and where my family is. So from there we moved, like, I decided I'm going to move to Vancouver because Calgary is very cold, which isn't good for my MS.
Okay, so you realize that it's the weather as well that will have a lot of effect on you, because we are not really born to be in a very cold country.
No, not at all. You're right. Yeah, I would have probably done better if we stayed in India. Who knows? But yeah, so then Vancouver is close enough to Calgary, and out of the way, I have family here.
Yes.
It made logical sense to come here.
So did you at that time think, okay, maybe I should join some, you know, legal firm and help work with them or help them?
It was too much stress on my body, and one of my doctors at the time told me, he's like, you just have to be impossibly happy. Like, that's what you should aim for. You shouldn't have a stressful career. Like, you should try your best to be impossibly happy all the time, because stress is a big trigger too for MS. So I was like, and that advice just stuck with me. Like, that was just there. And I was like, this isn't what I should be doing. I should be doing something with a little bit more fun in it. And so I got a job at the City of Vancouver in the protocol department, thinking we're going to throw these fun events and meet people, and they're going to come, and it'll be so cool. And so yeah, it was a really good transition, and then I think it led me to the right place where I'm supposed to be at
Isn't
today.
that just beautiful? That's such a, you opening up your story like a flower, you know, it's opening up. The petals are different parts of your life.
Right.
That is beautiful. I want to go back to your work, but I know that you're married. When did you get married?
I got married during COVID. So it was like...
During COVID?
Yeah, during COVID. 3 years ago now, I think.
Okay, I want to find out, how did you meet this handsome guy, and why did you marry him, okay?
Okay.
But we'll take a short break.
Thank you.
Ari Bhullar is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today, of course, is Ari Bhullar. And we just found out that she met this guy and she married him. But was he the first guy that you met?
No, I think dating was hard. Like,
Was it? Dating is very hard for South Asian women.
Yes.
It is the hardest because your parents tell you what to do, and your society tells you what to do, and you tell yourself what to do.
Right.
But you can never listen to yourself.
No, it's so true. And I think, like, my parents weren't like, they weren't like, oh yeah, go date. Like, they were a bit traditional that way. But I pushed back. I was a bit of a rebel. I was oh no, like, we need to meet someone. We're gonna go out. Like, I'm gonna date. Yeah. This is gonna happen. And I think that, like, when you're older and later in your 20s, they're like, okay, it's fine. She needs to meet someone anyway, so that's okay. But yeah, it was hard to date. Also hard to meet men that, you know, understood, like, a little bit more of an independent person and all of those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our men, our mama's boys, and they don't understand all that.
Yeah. No, very true.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And especially when I would tell them, like, okay, at what point do I tell them I have MS? Or at what point, how are they going to take this? And all those other layers attached to everything. So,
yeah. And how did you meet him?
I actually was back in Calgary for my sister. She was having a baby.
Yes.
And I was on a dating app. And I saw him on there, and I was like, I know this guy. Like, we actually went to school together.
No kidding.
Yeah, we did. We were friends in junior high. Stayed kind of friends and connected. He knows my family. Our cousins know each other. He lived 3 blocks away.
Wow.
Right? And so, yeah, I saw him, and I was like, oh, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah.
And then we just started talking, and I was like, is he talking to me like a friend? Or does he like me more than a friend? Like, it was hard to tell. And then... yeah, and then from there we just hit it off right away. And I just knew. I knew within like 3 months. I was like, this guy.
This is the guy.
This is it, yeah.
How lovely is that?
Yeah, it was really nice. Can't believe we lived down the street the whole time.
So was it, because of COVID, was it a small wedding, big wedding?
Yeah, it was. We got married quite quickly after.
Yeah.
Because it was COVID and it was tough. We only had 10 people at our wedding. Like, it was really small.
Wow.
Coming from a big family, that was not easy or okay.
No, I bet.
And so we just had our parents and our siblings and their kids, and that was it. Like, if we had invited just one more cousin or one more uncle, then it would have had been all of them. Like, it wasn't easy to do.
You couldn't have done that, right?
No, but I didn't want a very big wedding.
Yes.
So I think, and I never thought I'd even be married. Like, I just thought, you know, I'm going to work, like, I'm going to have this amazing career. I'm going to do all these things. And yeah.
Now that you're married, I mean, you think to yourself, how could I not be married?
Yeah, no, it's true. He helps me so much, and he's so great and supportive.
Now, your work with the city, it is a very important project. I remember in 2015 when we thought of doing Raise Your Hands Against Racism, the first city that put their hands up was City of Vancouver, and Gregor Robertson was the mayor at that time. So he was like gung-ho, yeah, I want to do this. It was, the City of Vancouver always stayed with us. The other cities joined later on, but City of Vancouver always wanted us to go to all the different places and do our event. So the very first year, we did our event in 7 different locations.
Wow.
You know, can you imagine the staff being divided into 7 locations? And it was amazing. It was very successful. And then we started, you know, consolidating it in one place and do it for a whole, you know, day in one place. But City of Vancouver is historically an amazing city. You know, I mean, it's got the South Asian community, which is huge, built this city as well. The Chinese community is another one. Yeah. And you must see that there are other communities like Italian, Greek.
Yeah, or the Filipino community.
Or the Filipino community now.
Right now, and then we recognize, like, we're on in these indigenous lands doing this work, which is, like you said, the forefront. Like, Vancouver usually is the first city to take that step and be like, we're going to address cultural redress. We're going to talk about racism. We're going to do like these apologies to
Yeah.
these communities that deserve it.
Right.
And so that's a pretty big thing for a city to do and admit. And so we are staying true to our name of the city of reconciliation that
Right.
way. And
It
I think
is.
that's pretty incredible.
It
So,
is beautiful. And working with the staff, because the mayor or the premier doesn't run the province or the city.
Right.
It's the people who work with him that run.
Yeah.
So you guys are the ones who are really running the city.
Yeah, I mean, when I started this, I was like, where are the other South Asian planners? Like, where is everyone? And there's not many of us.
No
so,
way.
like, I would really highly encourage anyone who's looking at a career in the city to look into planning. You don't have to go to planning school to be a planner. Like, I didn't get my degree in
Right.
planning. You can come from like a community service background. You can come
Right.
from a community the nonprofit background.
Right.
You could come into the social planning way that way. And so I would really encourage like as many young people or that want to get into this to really consider it.
I don't think I think our people are more interested in getting into business.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
No, and that's not a bad thing either. That's great. Maybe, like that's entrepreneurship. That's part of our community.
If I wasn't a broadcaster, I would work for a city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that would be incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
the work you did, that campaign was
Yeah.
huge. It was hugely successful. I don't credit the city for that success. Like I credit you. I think the city benefited from that campaign, and we, got to spread awareness and education,
Yes.
and that's the role. That's the role that we had. So
Now,
That's great.
where do you see yourself in the next, say, 5 years?
Oh, that's a really good question. I hope that in 5 years I have brought some more people to the city, encouraged more people to come to the city. I would like to still be at the city,
Yes.
having completed this work, seeing actual tangible things, like we did the Komagadamaru place,
Yes.
Guru Nanak Jahaz place,
Yes.
and sign that you can see. So when people get off ships or you're going touring around Vancouver, you can see it. I want more of that. I want more visibility for our community all over, and I want to be very proud of the city that it is in 5 years.
Isn't that just beautiful? I think you're on the right path, and I think your heart is in the right place. And I
Thank
think you're doing
you.
an amazing job. It is so lovely to meet you and talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you too, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being our Woman in Focus today.
Thanks.
Ari Bhullar has been our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away, we'll be right back.